still. Yeah, good boy. Good boy, good boy. Man, that was crazy. The pig was out there just sniffing around. The beautiful pig that had like pink and black spots. I had a picture to the cover for this for you to see. You know. I don't know. Oops. I am practicing. Dude, holy God, what a blessing! Like I was just talking about Abraham Lincoln being like, like I tease when I ask for penny rolls at the gas stations or whatever. I'll be like, I just got a crush on Abraham Lincoln. He's just such a badass. But yeah, like I got this penny roll, probably, I can't say for sure where. I'm thinking it was from Target, but it was rolled in the machine, and the one on the top that I was looking at was a 1976 penny, and it was like perfect. It was like, and the machine that rolled it scratched like this big old circular, like carved out, I mean straight up like ruined. It was like a $3,000 coin, because in 76 they don't have mint condition pennies for some reason. I think they only went up to 67 plus. MS 67 are the ones that sold, but there's only a few that were, at least a couple years ago when the video teaching about them that I watched mentioned it. There was only, yeah. So on a scale up to 70, between 60 and 70 is mint condition. And rarely will you find something that's in circulation, because they just even change when you, in your pocket, it's all clinking together and scraping each other. Like, metal is softer than people realize. And yeah, like every time you hear the sound of change, the sound you're hearing is damage being caused. It's like an injury. So I realized that actually with my bag of marbles. As I was walking to Arcata, I spent like over a month just making different kinds of implosion marbles, different sizes of marbles. I was just going through my marble phase as a glass blower, and I was loving it. And man, I had so many. I wasn't even trying really to sell so many of them. I mean, I had mostly like pipes that I had in my case to sell when I went to town, to try to make sure I could pay the rent. But yeah, the marbles were just more like a science experiment phase for me. I was just learning how to, condense, and thinking about the three-dimensional, the light bending aspects of the sphere and all that, and thinking about gravity and so on. So anyway, oh yeah, the bag of marbles. I was walking to Arcata from Sunnybray, just like a mile or two to town, and I had them in this pouch, and the pouch was just clinking and banging, and I was just like, didn't even care, I didn't even think about it, but they were just all cling, 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 all the glass marbles, and they were all perfect when I started my mission to town. But then I get to town, and I went to show somebody one of them, and I was like, oh crap, there's a check on this. There's like a, like a little impact. It looked like a crater on the moon or something. And anyway, yeah, I just, like borosilicate's very strong, but it's only a matter of time before, it vibrates every time it has an impact or whatever. And the more annealed it is, the more relaxed the molecules are in it, and they can um, handle vibrations and shock of fluctuation in temperature or whatever a lot better without exploding or cracking or whatever, right? So anyway, even though my marbles were all mostly kilned, they still had shocks. Like, I looked in that bag, almost every single one of them had scratches, checks, or impact splay marks. I ruined like my whole bag of marbles. It was just like a whole month's worth of work. I was just like all these different styles, and just by clanking them together the whole way to town, just with every step of the way, glass on glass. It was crazy. So anyway, just I learned. That, yeah, like pennies are the same way, all the coins. You just, there's, yeah. You got to be careful with them. And I mean, I'm even like opening penny rolls with my raw hands. And your fingerprints, dude, like the oils on your hands. I mean, people know. I mean, right? After you clean windows so many times, or you have a children around and they touch everything and all the glass and stuff, right? You realize that your hand grease is, we're oily. It's part of our immune system and health system. And then, yeah, I opened a roll this morning though. Okay, so I'm gonna. So I can't be the first to figure this out anyway, and it's not. They changed the penny, the metals that they used, composition, from 90% copper to like 90% zinc or 85% zinc or something like that. In 1982 was the transition year. So you got to be careful to, there's only 1 or 3 found so far, I think, of a certain type of 83 that was, I can't remember. That's why, I just save all my 82s and 83s and I'll figure it out later. But yeah, if it's in good condition and it has, like if it still weighs 3.1 grams after it should have changed in 83, then you've got one of the older planchets on a newer penny, and that's, I guess, and there's a certain year. So 82, I think in 82 there's a mixed and matched batch from each mint. Some of them had like so many this way and so many this way, and when they altered it and whatever. So right, so there's 82s that some weigh 2.5 grams because they're zinc, some weigh 3.1 because they're more copper. I've learned to tell just by how a penny feels. I can like feel, and so then I realized at the same time, I was just like, whoa, wait a minute. Well, you could weigh a penny roll, 50 pennies. It's 50 cents. You can get 2 rolls at a gas station. Every time you get gas, every time I get gas, I ask for 2 penny rolls with an extra $1 while I'm in there, just to see what the gas station's got in store, right? I mean, usually most penny rolls are like between 128 grams, which is like all new pennies, to 133, 134 tops if there's like 7 or 8 older, that extra half gram or so, 0.6, on the ones that are from the 70s and 80s. So you know what you're dealing with as far as chances by weighing the whole roll. And dude, I found this one roll. It was like 155 grams, 155.7. And I could not. I was like, how did I not notice this before? It wasn't weight. I mean, usually I write down the weight. Just as I'm getting them, I'll write where I got the penny or where I got it, just so I can. It's just data. I'm a scientist. I like try to write down stuff because I know I'm not going to remember it. So I'm just like, for future's sake, I can go back and be like, wow. So, dude, yeah, that was every single one. Every one in that entire roll was like in Grandpa's collection. Somebody's grandpa is probably gone, and they were just like, what do we do with all these pennies? And we're gonna, instead of throwing them away or whatever, they rolled them up. Now, actually, they put them in a machine that rolled them up, and the ends got ruined. Dude, the 76s though. So right, because it's a bicentennial year, the 1976 pennies they were more focused on all of the silver coins, like the bicentennial quarters were the big deal that year. So the mints were all just making. So there are no 1975 quarters, I think. They just skipped that year, and during 1975 and 76, they just focused on making as many bicentennial quarters as they could. And then, I don't know, they just didn't focus on pennies as much. They didn't make them in as high quality. So the Denver Mint and the Philadelphia Mint made kind of like, So for some reason, there are no mint condition circulated 1976 pennies. And that makes them valuable if you do have one that's very, 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 very mint. So anyway, yeah, the one that got scratched on the end was just like the most perfect looking 76D I've ever seen. And of course, the penny roll thing. What bubbles? Whoa. Whoa. Anyway, the rest of the roll, every single penny was between 1970 and 79. And all of them, oh wait, no, there were some 64s and 68s and 61s and 67, and all of them were just so red, so good condition, like I scored. I don't know, dude, but like, holy God, holy God, holy God, holy God. Happy birthday, Abraham Lincoln. Good Lord. So, anyway, I gotta get some help because I'm just so busy. I think I'm gonna, I've got this vision in my mind where I'm like, okay, cool, we can do this. And it's just like, I've got this flying for the stars kind of like idea in my head. And, I don't care if I don't make it, then that's all right. It's good motivation for me to get off my ass and to actually start trying to make something of myself rather than just being so scattered in every direction all at the same time and accomplishing nothing. Like as an artist, I just keep starting drawings and never finishing them. I come up with awesome comic book ideas and then just never draw them out. Like life is going by way too fast, and I'm just grabbing it like for every opportunity I can get, and I'm not slowing down to follow through on any one of my brilliant plans. I've got like a lot of like genius ideas, and I'm not able to even really show anyone, hey, you know, much of anything for what I like accomplishments. You know, like people need to see a degree to believe you're educated. People need to see proof that you're rich or wealthy. You know, like you got to flaunt it or show your bank account or whatever. I don't know. And it's like I don't really feel like I give a shit what people think. So what do I have to prove to anyone? Believe it or not, you know. You so, and then so even exposing that I might be educated makes people that are insecure about their intellect, like, right, uh, very uncomfortable, and I'm not helping them by trying to teach them something that I'm all excited about learning. So I keep seeing backfire there. I am not identifying with people. I'm at this point where I'm just like, I'm not meant for this world at this time, or you know what I mean? Like harsh thoughts, like just maybe humanity's not ready to handle, you know, my level of autism or whatever. I, but people take it wrong. They feel like I'm condescending by saying that I'm different, or you know, they take as me talking about my growth and my accelerated um, progress as comparing myself to them, and that's not ever my intention to compare anybody to me. When I talk about something that I'm excited about, that I'm learning about, I'm hoping that they have something to add to it. You know, like, oh yeah, well, check out this cool, right, coin my grandpa had or whatever. You know what I mean? Something like that. Or like, hey, I heard this year has these kind of notes. Did you know that? Just like that, you know, it's like in ancient Greece. That's what those guys did for fun. It's just like shot, you know, they sat in groups of, and just talked about ideas. Well, what if this makes any sense, you know? And they would hold it up and they would look at it and look at it from different angles and they would discuss it and philosophize, you know? And, you know, they tried to keep the ego as separate as possible as to not interfere with the actual potential that the conversation has to elevate everyone by right educating, or you know, like everybody can expose their relationship and their experience with the topic to the point where um, anyone that wasn't um, you know, exposed to those um, you know, just the dynamics of those topics. Oh, they're just as a bystander, they're they're elevated. They're educated just by being witness to that conversation. So, I guess you know that's one thing. Maybe I should work on. I just heard myself say it. Conversation. This isn't a conversation. This is some crazy guy that lives in his van talking to his phone. Um, but I'm not. I'm talking to you. If you're watching it, you know, and I I'm trying to figure out a way to identify with people, and not just smart people, not just Americans or people that are, right, artists. Um, I can't, like, I notice I lose um, Facebook friends or potential workers or any, just even from mentioning the word narcissism. That's the big N word. You can't even look to me. And so I have to really like make fun of myself. Like the only thing I can think of as a way to even handle that is make fun of my own narcissism, my own narcissistic traits that I got rid of as I caught myself doing the shit. I have to be able to make my comedy. I can't be like, oh yeah, some people just can't be fucking like, can't even look in the mirror. No, I have to be like, dude, can you believe I was walking around saying all this shit when I was like totally doing that exact same thing for like another like few years before I'd even like, whoa, hello, dude. You know? So I've gotta chill on my discussions of progress because people take it personally. So I don't know. I'm a little bit of a nerd. Hmm. I'm not very good today. I was doing really good yesterday. Anyway, I just I want to clarify. I am not running for president of the United States because that's pretty ridiculous to think about even being possible, right? Is that crazy talk? Am I automatically written off as an insane person because I even talk about such madness? Um, the reason that I'm not running is not because I think it's impossible, or it's not because I don't think I would kick ass up there. Like, we haven't had an artist in the White House. I mean, George Bush, he was an artist. Junior, right? But that's one of the reasons Abe Lincoln is one of my biggest heroes. Is he didn't have degrees in like capital. He was just a common man, but he swept the country away with his speeches. He just, the way he talked, was, people identified with him, and they loved him. They wanted to see him capable of making a difference in the world in the ways that he saw as possible. And that's, I mean, it's just like clarity. So I can't run because it's dangerous. Like, I got a very, very clear message right? That I will not survive if I interfere with this election. And that's just killing me. I'm like, dude, God, like, God, it's like so divided right now. I was thinking it was just going to be like, I even said it in my comedy routine a year and a half ago or whatever. I said as a joke how easy it would be, thinking between like Biden and Trump again. Like that would just be like, right? Because everybody was voting just against the other guy because they didn't want to see that dude in place. So they were, but like, it's hard to support Trump because he's exposed some very racist and sexist type mentalities. He doesn't hide it much. He's just kind of like, so, we, like, I can't make my message about like narcissism. I was already talking about that because I was raised, my mom had to think that she was the best mother in the world and the best, you know, church member, and she was insecure because she's half Native American and part black and part Cherokee too. Like she's like, my mom's like 2/3 lineage coming from people with darker skin. And right, we're all shades of brown. I'm just really pale brown, like my dad. But my dad's English, and anyway, I think my mom's insecurities kind of came from my uncles picking on my dad for that, and turns out genetically we are attracted to people that are of the most opposite lineage as possible. So it's like, it's no thing that, you know what I mean? Like, and we all know if you inbreed with humans, you end up with Down syndrome and so on occurring more often. So other mutations and drawbacks and weaknesses. So I mean, I learned that with cannabis too right away by breeding weed. The hybrids just had all the vigor and could handle all the conditions, and they just like the seeds like almost chose the traits that were going to be needed in my environment. So it was just like, bam, next level was so awesome every time I crossed. So I um I think, yeah, diversity is key, and we're going global, baby. It's all going to happen in the next 50 or 100 years where everybody's all just mixed in, like kind of like a beige or kind of brown mixture, and people with like really, really dark black skin, they're going to be like so rare, and I think that's amazing to still have, you know what I mean? So I look at that as just like an admirable trait. I've always just been so amazed by, right? I get burned in the sun, and just, you know, I don't know, I get a lot of moles and stuff like that. I think because I'm, like, my skin is a weaker version. Somehow I think there's this one tribe of Asian, Southeast Asian, somewhere in like Indonesia. There's a tribe of people that almost do all of their hunting underwater. Like they live so much of their lives underwater. They got these ways of holding their breath and going under with spears and doing all this like teamwork and stuff, dude. Like they are efficient hunters that live a huge percentage of their life. And then, right, the hunters that did this method before, they had bigger families and their children learned these, and the ones that weren't able to didn't live as long and didn't, you know what I mean? So like it was only, a very small number of generations before these people developed like different spleens and different, they are able to be underwater more than any other kind of human. So I can see very clearly that like mermaids, possible. We know that dogs and sea lions come from the same line. Like they both have a common ancestor millions of years ago when the earth was more compact, probably all covered in, before the land had really emerged from the oceans and the mountains hadn't formed yet, because right, the underneath side of the curve of the plates were tighter. So as it got bigger, the curve got like wider, right? And then the mountains collapsed, or the plates had to collapse. And so that's why you got mountains on the edges, like the Appalachians and the Rockies, and right, South America and all that stuff. The mountain ranges are higher, because that's where the continental plates buckle. And anyway, just more evidence towards the expanding Earth hypothesis. So I just want to point out that epigenetic traits they have found are easily triggered off and on, depending on the environment. So children raised, or even, if the mother is in poverty and hungry and stressed out and going through emotional stuff, like babies born in war and stuff like that, dude, they end up obese and having like addiction problems and all sorts of stuff later in life, because the mother was underfed. People will have, overfeeding kind of tendencies, and so on. We just adapt really quick, and it only takes a generation or two even before we make some major shifts. The Ice Age has a very likely chance of hitting us way faster than we realize is possible. And like the Beaufort Gyre is this ice blockade between Greenland and Canada, I think, or something. And when that gives way, when that finally melts through, all the ice from the Arctic will just kind of like go through that channel and ends up in the Atlantic Ocean, and it just chills the entire Atlantic Ocean to ice water temperatures, and then all the sea life that can't handle freezing dies, or they have to migrate really quickly. And so the weather systems will all change all at once, and yeah, dude, it's gonna be crazy. And I think a coronal mass ejection big enough could do it as well. So we're so blessed, dude. We've lived, our modern history is just like this little window of like perfect temperatures. Farmers got all used to the cycles and what to expect, so they know the planting dates and they know harvesting dates and all that stuff. Dude, it could be so drastically different so fast. And it's been on my mind a lot, and I know talking about it doesn't really, people don't like, I'm not fear-mongering, I'm educating, and I'm seeking collaboration on solutions, really. I'm always learning as a way to move towards finding solutions for things. So that's what has driven my education through my whole life, is just curiosity based on the random just questions that pop up with my environment. I find some mushrooms when I'm a teenager, and I'm like, what are these? And I look it up, and I go buy an Audubon Society mushroom identification book, and then I'm like, whoa, weird. There's so many different kinds of mushrooms as I'm looking through this book, and I'm like, wow, all these types are poisonous, and these types are edible. Like, these actually grow in our region. And I was, Utah's a desert. I didn't even think mushrooms grew in Utah, but I found out when I started looking that during the spring, when the snow is melting, there's morels all over all the cottonwood trees and all this by the rivers. And then, yeah, just the canyons fill up, dude. So during the spring and the fall, during the wet seasons. And boletes, porcini, those are, I learned how to find those up in Oregon when I volunteered for the Forest Service. They pop when it's 110 degrees outside, hasn't rained in a month, and it's just like all of a sudden, like, bam! You start seeing the pine needles push up these big old bulges, and like, they are huge, heavy, like multi-pound delicacy mushrooms that dry well. They store, you can keep them in, in pantry for years, and just throw them in the soup and they'll rehydrate and be perfect and tasty. And so, king boletes, queen boletes, all the porcinis. It's amazing. So I'm just talking. But I wanted to say that, right? I'm not running. I keep talking about stuff in the sense that, like, we don't have to continue like this, like just pretending like we only have two choices, and the Electoral College just gets to pick who those two choices are, and there's no reason to just like discuss any other options. That is not like the intention of the presidency of the United States. Like, the concept that they included in the Constitution, and it was placed there in the sense of like creating a system of checks and balances, like the judicial branch. That's a tongue twister. Judicial branch. The Supreme Court. They're there to make sure that Congress is doing their job right, and the Senate is there to make sure that Congress isn't passing through some like porky shenanigans or whatever, and right. So like, the system was kind of created to keep financial advantage from having too much persuasion. It was created so that, right, like royalty and all these, and so religion couldn't affect the outcome, and so people would be able to be like free to have their own religion or have no religion or whatever. And it just doesn't seem like that was cherished enough to be, it wasn't made important enough to be carried forward to this day. And I went through my different stages. When I wrote the Declaration of Interdependence for the Occupy movement in 10 and 11, I was agnostic at the time. Like, that's, I don't know if I ever would have considered myself atheist, because that's saying there's like no God. But, something is clearly up. with life, and something conscious and tuned in with our spirit and with our intentions and the signs. If you are looking out for them, are everywhere. There's just so much going on that it just could not be random chaos and meaningless. But I mean, if you're, distracted and don't care, you'll miss it. So I'm like, why is everything set up as to distract us? It just seems all really fishy. And that's, I don't know, dude. Like, it can't just be like these families that have become so super rich that they're just, you know what I mean? They think they're gonna keep us enslaved. Like, I mean, I kind of see that as, people think that Lincoln was shot because he freed the slaves, but that was already done already, and they freed the slaves, and then he kind of needed their help to win the war. So, a lot of them were enlisted. As soon as they were freed, they were part of the army or whatever. And so it was more his addressing the gold standard and interest rates, I think. This is from memory, I can't remember exactly, but I think that was Lincoln's next big challenge that he was facing, was how to bring the country back together, how to rebuild as one. And if they destroyed the South and all that, then they had to do some repairs, and how to make that fair for people and not just put it in the hands of just a few like rich families that would like come up off of the whole thing and just take advantage of the situation, right? So he was standing up to the bankers, and they didn't even have a Federal Reserve, I don't think, at that point, or I don't remember, but anyway, he was trying to make things fair for everyone. And turns out the people that are already quite happy with the way things are, because their advantage taking has been so lucrative, and right, they're treating it like an addiction. They must have power with all of their money. They must have more money with all of their power. It's a tragic cycle. I feel bad for them, because they are missing the point of life, which is, I think, to find your happiness, find what motivates you and has reciprocal benefits, right? What makes it feel worth all the struggles you've been through? Like, what can you share that you can appreciate watching people level up and enjoy like their lives more because of your donation? You know what I mean? So that's been clarified for me with my little getting burned at the stake shenanigans garbage that happened with me and my land. I just, I learned the hard way. I didn't even really get that lesson until just this week. I mean, I thought I did. I was like, okay, now I know how to identify a narcissist. Besides when I'm looking in the mirror. And that's good enough, because now I know, and I can just avoid. Well, that doesn't work. You can't just like avoid everyone. I mean, and like people with like self-destructive, borderline narcissistic personality disorder problems, that level of denial is it's taught. It is abundant. Our culture in this mixed country of ours, TV teaches it. Like we we just we are perpetuating that, and it comes with the like with the mindset of like the bling bling. Got to have your all your you got to show off all your success by what I mean by wearing it on your sleeve. And I'm not I'm done getting targeted. That's for sure. I definitely don't want to draw attention. So showing that I have anything valuable is dumb. Um, I've been through it, and then trying to help people. It's like, oh, you need help. They want to take advantage, and so it's like, how do you even hire someone that wants to, that sees that it's even possible to change the world for the better, that actually thinks that they can make a difference, like, and not have everyone think you're just crazy for even talking against, the narrative like that. It's just weird. So it's as old as time. This tale is, like the black sheep of the family is just like the one who's just telling the truth, and the rest of the family's playing along and covering for each other. And the one kid that's just saying how it is gets gaslighted and treated like an outsider, and it's just sad, and I don't know if we can fix that about humanity. I would love to think it's possible and to try and do. Like, can you imagine the world if within a generation or two we were able to like identify the things that we're doing that are nurturing this upbringing that results in like levels of denial that are so self-sabotaging and socially destructive and harsh, I mean, it's a beautiful thought to, um, to imagine as a possibility. And I see it, the Disney movies, they're doing their job. They're trying to teach these lessons in a way. Pinocchio is one of those things. Burning Man, I think that's the point of Burning Man, is that they're burning the ego down. Right? Weird, huh? Yeah. So I went through my phase where, when I first started sharing my videos on YouTube, like my epiphanies, I was like just out of my mind, lit. And it was embarrassing to expose that. And some of the things I said were out there and shocking. And I can see how a lot of people just think you're supposed to keep that kind of stuff to yourself. And I don't know, definitely led to, right, mob attacks, and they made up every rumor about me they could to destroy me socially. It was just like, it was like, as I was discovering my powers, everybody made it their goal to make sure to undermine anything I could do that might lead to success or actually attaining any real power. And it just, you know what I mean? Like, I was trying to show that we are all free. We are all capable of achieving whatever we want. We are all, you know, to a degree, being kind of misled, like hugely. But I mean, the media controls the narrative in some places. I mean, dude, it is just like there's no getting away from it. And so, right, religion was holding all these major, beautiful keys that are so helpful in life, and like the gospel is real. It's true. Jesus lived through all of like the drawbacks of narcissism are exactly why Jesus was gaslit with all the sins of the world, and he went to the Garden of Gethsemane and he bled from every pore as he was praying to God. And you know, I'm like, I want to learn the Hebrew or whatever. I want to know what these words that they translated this from were, and if there's any other meanings, right? Like blood, plasma, every pore. You know, I'm just like, there's different interpretations. You can identify different meanings, and I'm excited about it. Like thinking about astronomy and how many orbs I've seen, the possibilities that there are extraterrestrials here that are just not choosing to be seen yet, because we're an unpredictable species still. They wouldn't want to trust us to come to their parties yet, because sometimes we do some crazy shit as humans, and you know, there's no telling what our fear might make us jump into action to do all of a sudden. So I'm like, I see my calling that I've come to, which is to be an educator. It's like why I do my YouTube for free. I still haven't figured out how to get paid for this shit. I don't ask people to subscribe or, you know, any of that stuff, because I'm sure they know how. If they want to see what I'm doing, they will. I just don't, and so I'm not asking for help in the right ways. I'm trying to hire someone to help me sell a bunch of things and get my internet stores going, and look up a bunch of the values on these coins that I'm finding, and the fulgurites. I want to get Spiraffinity registered as a ministry of education is the one I'm leaning towards right now. It's kind of like a church, an education church, but the focus would be basing our perspective on the possibilities that are available, and not jumping to conclusions, not overzealously writing things off as impossible, or as unlikely, as we're in just such a hurry to be the scientist that makes the discovery and gets the Nobel Prize and then proves something that was hypothetical. It's just like, see, this proves the existence of gravity waves or the Higgs boson or whatever. And everybody's just like, oh yeah, see, they found it. I don't even need to think about it. But if you stop and think about it, you're like, oh, well, dude, this is a blip on some data. Like, that's not really like a control group and a scientific hypothesis being proven through, you know, through just libraries of data. So, you know, it's just like my gravity readings this morning. I was noticing that these rolls, as I re-weighed these rolls of pennies, they were all lighter. Like 130, 131, I would weigh it and it was like 129. Like every one was almost, you know, like 1.5% lighter. And I asked ChatGPT afterwards. I filmed a video of it. I'll post that in the reels. But I asked Chatty, if gravity, if, you know, I said, how do they prove gravity, like, is varying? And it gave me the list of experiment phases that we've been through. And I was like, so you do see that gravity can fluctuate depending, and then he's like, yeah, based on the density and air pockets under the crust and the minerals that are attracting, and so yes, there's different varying gravity. And I'm like, okay, cool. Well, not considering the electric nature of, right, what's occurring there. So I see Hawaii as like a hyper-evolution, like Grand Central Station, as we're funneling all of the sun's filaments right down into, you know, these magma chamber bodies, whatever they are. They're rich in iron, and I think that the sun is actually causing a discharge event constantly with them, and that's what makes the lava molten, is the lightning, the electrical discharge ongoing event that's occurring. And so there's no need for subduction. There's no need for, right? Plate tectonics is silly if you think about it. They were teaching expanding Earth as a possibility, right along with tectonics as the, you know, these are two hypotheses that we consider. They just started teaching after Einstein and whatever. They just started teaching subduction as if it was like proven or whatever, ever. And they say that the Ring of Fire is because of all this, right, the subduction going on. But like, hello, Hawaii's right in the middle of the ocean. Just, there's no subduction occurring underneath us. Hello, like this whole chain of islands, like what is causing the most continuous lava eruption on Earth? And it's absolutely, obviously not subduction. So anyway, I'm all over the place with this. So I just see a need for like the people would love to have their voice back. They really would. I sure would. I feel like I'm just like screaming to the top of my lungs, and nobody even wants to hear it. And they take what I'm saying as condescending, and I'm not. I'm trying to include everyone. I'm trying to inspire them to participate in the conversation to where we can all help each other grow. And right, so I keep talking about things like my developments and my personal growth trajectory, and people take it like comparison, and they feel like I'm condescending, and I'm not comparing us. I'm just trying to say this is what I've learned. I'm tired. I'm so tired of being taken wrong. And that's simply, again, the N-word, making people feel like it's all about them, right? That's just that normal trait that when you see somebody, just like everything that's said in a conversation, they're like, they take it personally. And it's not all about you, love. It's not. And I am in the wrong. I was wrong, thinking that knowing is knowing might be half the battle, but that would solve the problem. Is just like avoiding narcissists and just not caring what they do. It's just as long as they're not in my business, whatever. That's not, you know what I mean? Like, there's not going to be, if I'm going to ever work in government or, you know what I mean? Like professional realms, like any professional realm is just going to be saturated in people that got there by playing these roles correctly and not making all the mistakes that I constantly make, you know, and I blame on my condition, like my severe ADHD and autistic possibility, and right. And so on the chart I did, I found this chart in my research that has all these different like traits, and I noticed that I have a circle. The circles intersect in the middle, and there's just this like, so there's 3 circles that intersect in like a triangle, kind of like a rounded triangle area, and I was all in the center there. So gifted is one of those, ADHD is another one, and then autistic was the other one. So I'm all 3. And then outside of the circle, I was all of the other ones that were on the ADHD scale as well. So I'm gifted, autistic, and severely attention deficit. And hyperactive disorder, right? But it's hyper learning. And we could change the D to trying to think of a good D word that would consolidate all of those. Driven, right? Hyper-focused, driven, right? Attention distracted, hyper learning, driven. That's learning as an L, so it'd be different. ADHLD. Anyway, whatever, dude. It's not an actual, like, I'm not, okay, I mean, I guess I am very retarded, as the word retarded means slowed down. I have slowed myself down, so I am a self-retarding retard, because I'm retarding myself by slowing myself down, and I'm a retard because I have been slowed down, and I've not been able to progress socially or financially. Uh, you know, I'm stuck. I see so much potential, and I'm treated like I'm a crazy person because I see that I could do some of these things with my life if I really just dedicated myself. And I see it as kind of sad that other people don't see that in themselves. Like, I really would love to show them that any of us, really, that's what the Constitution intended, was that we all have the opportunity to do anything we want with our lives. And that includes being the president of the United States. Like, dude, I could not believe, like, Obama couldn't believe it. He on his way out of his second term, he was just like, oh, dude, Donald Trump will never be president, that's for sure. He just said it with such confidence, like it was just the most crazy idea ever. Because to Obama, he had to be so good with people. He had to be able to identify with people and inspire hope. Obama's campaign was just so impressive, dude. I was blown away. Obama's just one of my greatest heroes, dude. That guy fucking did it, man. He got me to give, like, he reestablished my patriotism. Even my initial reaction, even to the 9/11 thing, I'm embarrassed to say it, but I was just like, yeah, corporate America, is like, it was like they deserved it or something, like, and that was going to do something to capitalism that would free us or whatever. My initial, I was only like a teenager or whatever. I didn't understand, but it took me a minute before I realized those were good people that were trapped in those buildings, and those are people that people that I know knew there was only two degrees of separation. Those are family members and loved ones, and I didn't, you know what I mean? It just didn't compute. Probably another big sign of my autistic nature or whatever. I just like automatically was just thinking about what it meant. It was like I saw the world was suffering from all of this plague of greed, and it was like these, the guys that pulled the stunt were somehow willing to sacrifice themselves and some innocent people to send a message to the world that we were on a path that was going to be universally self-destructive. And that's so the Cold War, all the nukes and all the the world wars and stuff, dude. We've had a really rough century, or like our whole country's history has mostly been dealing with some war or another. We've got still multiple fronts that are in conflict, and it's hard to accept it. It's hard to understand the necessity of some of these these actions we've taken. I see tariffs as just, you know, everybody holding each other back and just being like stubborn and not really trying to work together like they could be. And it's draining on the people. So I see a lot of need for our social skills to be worked on, and for us to be able to communicate, to have a little bit of humility, to right, to not have to be right, to not have to be the winner or the best, you know. So it's ridiculous. Me thinking that, like, I just saw this pathway, like I could somehow go on a comedy tour and just make jokes about these topics that I'm talking about so seriously right now. And even comedy isn't, like, some people don't have a sense of humor about these issues. Especially if the point of the joke is kind of pointing out that people have beliefs in areas where we have been misled into thinking one thing when it's not that way. So it's just weird. So I talk about the science, religion, and no, not Scientology. Of course, those guys are perfect. But science community, the people that have jobs in science as scientists, degrees, and so on, they all paid a lot of money for the schools they went to, or had to get perfect grades to get, free tuition, and then they have worked their way into the positions they're in, and they've worked very hard, and they don't want to even consider that science might be off in a way, that they might have done some of their efforts might have been wasted effort if it was in the wrong direction, or gathering data for the wrong reasons, or viewing it improperly, or you know what I mean. It's just nobody wants to admit that kind of stuff, and talking about it is earth-shattering to them. And so here I'm wanting to finish my book and retrace my steps as far as like all of the different phases that I went through, letting go of my Mormon beliefs, going to agnostic, and then coming back to spirituality on my own, and now back to a belief in God as being undeniable because of my experiences I've had, and the visions I've had that have been coming true. These are all very, very real occurrences, and I don't know what to do with it. So, I mean, comedy tour, yeah. It's like I could finish my book, yeah. And then people don't sit down and read books very often anymore anyway. Everybody's looking at their phone, and I watch my videos on YouTube at double speed or 1.5 times speed, so I can learn faster, so I can get through, whatever, and my brain starts working through that. Now when I'm like talking like this normal and I'm just listening, then it's like too slow. I'm saying people have too short of attention spans because we've all trained ourselves to be like so hyper learning mode. And so there's got to be some way I can tie all of these lessons that I've learned the hard way, and all of these, potentially beneficial misdirection, avenues we've taken without challenging people, without telling anyone that they're wrong or that what they think is categorically a belief. There's got to be a way to just like make it fun and make it feel so I can identify with people, and so I'm not isolating myself in a lonely world of van and cooped up puppy. Because I'm happy. I'm perfectly happy with just learning and practicing ukulele and guitar and looking at penny rolls and other coins and surfing the internet with every question I have, learning how to do stuff with AI. I was thinking I was going to also get an animation app with the AI and start making some cartoons. That would be one way I could use my lessons. Use my music together and identify with people without being triggering directly to them. I could make fun of, make a cartoon with dogs making fun of each other or whatever. I gotta make it fun. So I'll figure that out. I am withering away otherwise. And I've gone to church again lately. And I've talked a lot about Jesus on my stuff lately. And it's weird to me that people would be triggered into leaving the conversation as soon as you bring up Jesus. What's wrong with Jesus, dude? The Mormons believe in Jesus. Jesus is mentioned in the Quran. He traveled all over, and it seemed like everywhere that he went, he kind of left an impact on with people. And so I'm actually pretty stoked to go to a different church than what I grew up in. That's all. They almost every lesson they talk about is relating to Jesus, and they don't really go into the rest of the Bible as much, but it's mostly focused on Jesus' life. And I didn't even realize there was so much about his life in there. But I'm not reading directly from the Bible. I ask questions at my chat GPT and then have them give me the rundown, like the, what do you call those notes? Anyway, they consolidate it for me so I can absorb it really quickly, and then I'll ask more specific questions about the details. So anyway, I just thought that the ways that his life reflect what I've been going through is just, and how much it would have helped me if I would have just like realized what these lessons meant. It wasn't about the dying on the cross, didn't necessarily reveal or relieve us of being accountable for our sins. We still own our own behavior and our own impact on others. We still are responsible. It's just what it did was it showed us the truth about human nature. And that's hard for a lot of people to look at because of that denial I was mentioning. And so that's why those people felt so angered by Jesus, was because he was trying to live righteously, because he was talking about the differences that it made, and how in his own travels, in his own experience, how much those realizations helped him feel like he was living his life to the fullest. And so, yeah, it's very triggering for people that are not living their lives to the fullest. They don't want to know. They don't want to feel like they're choosing to stay in a situation that is not healthy for them overall. So people will stay in toxic relationships because they tell themselves that they need that other person for some reason, or because they dedicated themselves and can't change their mind. Some people just tell themselves that they need to be told what to do because they're indecisive on their own. It's just, it's just how we were conditioned. Our upbringings and all these other influences that we're, bombarded with, they set this illusion up to where we think that we really have no way of making a difference in the world. And we do. We're so strong, dude. We have so much, our potential is just immense, and we've barely begun to tap into our powers. Like, we're just only now just like realizing, we could do anything, especially if we work together, dude. Like, we could just accomplish like anything we could imagine. But like, divide and conquer, and distract and eliminate, and you know what I mean? There's just all these tactics that they're working against us, man. And so, yeah. And right, like, Trump is all saying he's standing up for the rich guys, and that's why Elon Musk would support him. And then Kamala, she's saying that she supports the people, but she's responsible as a prosecuting attorney of California for putting thousands of people in prison for drugs. They weren't criminals, they weren't hurting anyone, they were only supplying something that people were gonna find on their own one way or another. So, but they're literally just medicine men, like the old tribes or whatever. They had one guy that knew which plants from the forest you could bring out to alleviate any form of ailment. And it's just weird. We live in different realities. Like, literally, this is a complete different dimension that I'm in than most people, and I'm isolated because of it. I can't find anybody to work for me. In Humboldt, I found workers. I'd lose some of them because they'd hear me talking too much, and I'd see me learning on my computer so fast, and I'd be watching stuff that was making them uncomfortable. So I'm trying to find a way, and I don't want to die, so I'm not going to go, I can't run for president, because it's just not safe. And I've got to be thinking of, it doesn't matter how much I want to help the people, I can't help if I'm gone. So, and nobody wants my help, because that's saying that they take it as that's me saying that I'm better. But I'm not. I'm disabled because I have such severe, you know, neurodivergence. I'm just different, divergent as far as diverting away from your normal social expectations. I'm not able to keep it to myself. I'm not able to, like, it just comes right out of my big old fat mouth, dude. I'm like, so like, did he just say that in the middle of a party? Like, whoa. Don't be a downer, dumbass. And it's not fear I'm talking about. It's like, hello, these are just like possibilities, and I'd say it's quite dangerous to just ignore them as surfacing anytime soon. Is just kind of like there are many signs that we're on our way to the middle of this magnetic excursion. It started with the 1859 Carrington event, when the North Pole switched directions. So I don't know, baby, what there is to do. I am not gonna change anyone's mind by sitting in this van and talking to my phone. I gotta go socialize, learn how to be a human again. I don't know if that's possible. Because I'm not really human, I don't think. I got like this mask on. No. I think I took my mask mostly off. And I did. My mom did her best to raise a little narcissist. And instead, you get the opposite, and I'm an empath, a super empath, which is I feel everyone else's feelings around me. I can't help it. I see these little tiny signs that show how they really feel, and I see the pain behind it, and I'm like, I want to help. And yeah, it's just my mistake. By trying to be helpful, it ends up being triggering, and that's taken as condescending. So I gotta watch that, and it comes out as a harsh sense of humor. My harsh sense of humor kind of makes me a bully in that sense, where I'll make fun of things. It's like I'm desensitized because I've taken on so many other people's feelings. I've become hardened. from trauma and from feeling other people's predicaments. The cycle of abuse is just so continuous, but unnecessary in my eyes. Problems are solvable if you can address them. If you're able to look at it and identify the root of the problem, which is the incentives usually. It's like, what is making it worth it for people to be like this? For people to teach their children to be like this, It's like, what makes it worth it? To give into a temper tantrum is that you're not embarrassed in the grocery store. You just buy them that little Hot Wheels car or whatever, and the tantrum stops until they get bored of their toy after 10 minutes, and then the next thing they want. But, right, that's just teaching children that terrorism gets you results. So all you gotta do is threaten everyone else's peace of mind, and you will absolutely get your way. And that carries over into adulthood. And that's, they'll use tactics like undermining your social status. They'll talk shit behind your back, and they'll ruin you any way they can. Take away your support system any way they can, and you're left isolated. Then they can really go in for the kill, right? The final stages of consuming your energy. They are literally vampires, energy suckers. So, yeah, it's no small thing. It's real stuff. And it's not just as old as the Dark Ages. The Romans crucified so many people every day. And it wasn't just like Jesus was special and had his own treatment. Anybody that was talking outside of like the social norm, if anybody tried to gather groups, anyone that would, just talk against the emperor or king or whatever they had, it was not a good day for you. And people were just like super careful to not talk. They were, right? Society was just like, and people would tell on each other for doing it even really quickly. So they were glad that they were not crucified and that the people they told on were eliminated, and they were, you know what I mean? So the rewards, the incentives were there for people to continue the cycle of abuse. So I just think it's as easy as education. Like, we could teach psychology in schools. It was a elective in my high school, and I didn't elect it. I was so busy with sloughing and all that, I missed my chance to take astronomy in high school, to take psychology. My history teacher let me get a pass without doing any of the assignments and stuff. He could tell I was autodidactic, and made a deal with me. I gave him my drawings, and I wouldn't have to do any of the assignments. And those were losses for me, but also led to me taking the autodidactic route and diving deep, and not just believing what I heard or read or whatever. I saw videos about and wondered about the motives people have for projecting their version of history told by the winners or whatever, people that have similar mindsets that serve their agenda. So I became, like a scientist in all fields. Like I apply the scientific method to figuring out what to buy into, as far as like, you know, like even when I watch any YouTube video, I question like, what is this person trying to, what are they gaining from even, right, going here this direction and stuff. So, you know, I guess that point brings me back to my original intent with this video, hour and a half now. Yeah, I wish everyone realized that a president is supposed to keep the other branches of government in check, and so we do not have just two choices. And, you know, the media is very much perpetuating the belief that, right, it is so, right, rigged that, I mean, half the country just doesn't even vote because they just feel like, why waste their time? It's already pre-decided. So I just feel like, well, that's one of the three branches of government that is like completely not checking or balancing, or checking balances, or balancing checks, whatever. And right, the president's supposed to be able to pick the Supreme Court justices, and Obama should have had 2 more picks, but the Republicans pulled some stunt with the, what do they call that when they freeze up? I'm not going to think of the word right this second. Anyway, he had 2 seats to fill and wasn't allowed to pick them, and then guess who did get to, and so on. It's just, you know, I can't go around like pointing finger or making accusations or being disrespectful. These are people that, if I do figure this stuff out, these might be my colleagues one day, and I can't be like talking shit about Kamala Harris because she put people in jail. That was her job. And the law, all the drug war might be off. You know, it might be totally against freedom, totally against freedom of religion, like all of it, dude. Like, we don't have the choice to be our own doctor, much less our own medicine man. Like, we should have the right to explore our own consciousness however we choose, and as long as we're not harmful to society in any way or any individuals, then we're not doing anything wrong. So it's a victimless crime. I can't pretend that the drug war was all right in any shape or form. Like, I did jail for personal amounts, and I mean, dude, I was like a year of my prime. I turned 21 in there, and I came out a completely different person. I was weak. It weakened me. I came out with no drive, no sex drive. I was insecure. I didn't even talk to girls for a while. I went from just thinking I was just like all that shit to just like sidelining it, dude. And it was years before I even felt confident enough to even suggest hanging out with a girl like that again. And I mean, dude, I went years, like 4 or 5 years celibate before my baby mama saw how successful I could be if I was just shaped and molded into exactly what she wanted. So I've been through so much just to get here. And now that I'm here, it breaks my heart to see it continue for other people to go through these things that I went through. I would do anything I could to prevent that, to help anyone, even just one person, learn from my mistakes. If I could present the lessons from my mistakes in a way that people could identify with, that would inspire them again. And I used to feel like that about myself, that I was an inspiring person, that I could actually, my art was inspirational, that my ways of just figuring things out for myself, that, like I had people that were very grateful for, what I would share. And I don't know what, it was lost when I went through all my super harsh lessons. I lost it. And, I don't go into victim mode anymore. I try to just focus on, right, what I've learned and sharing that, teaching. It's still not received like it used to be when I just did my glass or just did my, my music or whatever. So maybe that's the answer. Maybe I just answered myself with this exposure. Maybe I just need to focus on the art again, and people will, they must have to see success to be able to support somebody. I can't be thinking I'm going to get anyone's respect for just deciding like, oh, I don't need money and I don't really care about, personal hygiene as much as, so enough to ask a girl on a date or whatever. I don't have to be confident enough to be like aggressive about it and actually chase ever. And, I know that waiting for the girls to come at me, that usually is a certain type of predatory woman that thinks that they're gonna, right? They're after something. If they're, right, that kind of aggressive, they want a guy that's going to be successful or whatever. And so I've wanted to avoid that as well. I don't want anyone to want to be with me because I'm, right, going to be their free ticket. That's how I ended up with my daughter. And I'm super grateful for my daughter. She's amazing. But she's exposed to a lifestyle. Her role model, plural, her role models on the other side of her life when she wasn't with me were not teaching her the best ways to be. And that breaks my heart, especially since she was not able to come out here for summers with me like we agreed on, and was just pulled from my life completely and told just horrible things. Just weren't possible. But it's just tragic. And that's the way the world is rolling, dude. That is the way it's going, is that the winners are the ones that play dirty. And honor is like out of style and gone. Honor is just not on the table. You don't win with honor, and so no one really respects it. So that's just harsh truth. I did not want to realize and look at and admit could be even possibly real. I just do not want to live in that world, dude, where we give all the props to the cheaters. That's just not cool at all, man. I do not agree with that turnout. We got to do something about it. And that's... It's not winning me any points by saying it out loud. So, I mean, I can see it right now. Every time somebody comes up there to join my live video, they're like, oh shit, I heard him say Jesus again. Oh shit, I heard him talk about the N-word. And they dip. They're just like, oh wait, I'm not gonna watch this crap. So I better just cut it off and let it be. I think I got my answers from getting that off my chest. So thank you if anybody did watch any portion of this and I didn't see it. I wish that it was safe for me to run. I wish that I had accomplished success somehow without cheating, so that people could absorb me as having enough dignity and expertise and enough of a trustable mindset to be willing to even listen to, or to be like even consider in a leadership role. I would be honored. But like, yeah, that's just not the world we live in, I guess. I'm just some homeless guy that must be crazy because I haven't taken the time to turn all of these things that I've found into money yet. Like, well, Fulgurites are actually, if you actually have Fulgurites, you would be totally rich right now. I sold a few on eBay, and I just realized I was too busy, and I messed up one of the shipping orders, and my rating went down. I'm not responsible enough because I'm in learning mode. I'm still in school every day. I'm still doing the stock market every morning. I'm still doing all the practice I can on the ook and all these different things. Like I'm in school, and I'm never gonna stop going to school. Even if I was president of the USA, I would still wake up every morning and check out what the market's doing. I would still spend time learning and seeing how far science has progressed, even just daily, dude. We are like leaps and bounds jumping forward. It's so hard to keep up with how fast technology is evolving. With AI now, we really need to get on top of that. Like, we need to work together to make sure that goes well and doesn't backfire on us. Which is like, that's a possible Terminator future we're looking at here. And we're potentially gonna have Trump like running the show with capitalist mindset as his primary objective to how to move forward. I mean, I don't even see how he's really, I don't even see how he respects the Constitution and our freedoms and stuff as much as he's just looking for loopholes to take advantage of. And that's very worrisome to me, dude. Like, I admire him in his ability to get what he wants out of life. And he got to the presidency, and nobody really even thought that was possible. Even Obama was just like, never happened, dude. And I see it. If I wanted to just go crazy Jaguar shenanigans all across the country, I could have done that. And I saw that the country went through the whole process that I was trying to portray anyway, by realizing, I got nuts that are hanging almost out of this dress I'm wearing. I can't, no matter how much I pretend, I don't have a uterus. I can't be a creator like a god, like all mothers are. I am a man, and I'm stuck dealing with testosterone, alpha dog bullshit dynamics with all the other men. And so there's these expectations that society has on me, had on me, whatever. And I'm stuck in a paradigm of having to deal with that. And so my artistic lashing out at all of the mobs forming from my behavior, and it was just my way of crying out for help and pointing to the underlying cross-wiring that we had going on with our society. And so as an artist, that's my job, to see those kinks and artistically portray what I see in a way that is shocking enough to actually take a second look, like take a a refreshed alternate perspective and view of whatever the subject might be. And yeah, like, if art doesn't say something, right, then it's just a picture or something. It's just not art. And so I look at most of my videos. I try to at least have like an underlying learning point, or the humor I use just has, an underlying lesson within. I'll say things that are triggering. Like I said some stuff about Captain Cook and the Hawaiians being cannibals. And, right? I make a joke about domination of genetics and stuff, and how, the British were trying to take over the world, and they thought of themselves as higher beings because they, in their society, they've become educated, and their wit is like more in depth, and their ironies, you know what I mean, like the English humor and all that stuff. They don't got the best teeth. I got the English teeth thing going for sure. But, you know what I mean? Evolutionarily, there's no saying that that's better or worse. And so I made a joke pointing out the difference. And the underlying irony I was hoping that people would see was that just because the British learned how to, like, militarize and dominate does not mean they're higher on the evolutionary, chain. And just because the Hawaiians just were able to sit here in peace and not really, education wasn't a goal in their lifestyle. They were able to just go fishing and chill with the abundance that they had, and living on the beach was good enough for them. They evolved to be able to just really enjoy that and keep it simple. So I don't see it as if they're predisposed to not be more intelligent or less or whatever. It's just about the upbringing. And like I was saying at the beginning with the epigenetic traits, the environment will affect the outcome of the next generations, and we're even able to trigger those on during our lifetime. Our DNA has the ability to switch. Like, if it just went Ice Age on us all of a sudden, I would probably start growing hair in places that I don't have it now. I would, if I was out in the sun all the time, my skin would get darker, and I would become less prone to getting sunburned. And, right, I might end up looking a little bit more like Native American, since I'm 1/3 Native American and part black and so on. Right, my sister Kelly, that ended up so super dark, she tanned all the time as a teenager. She worked on it. Like, that was just something she did. So maybe our environment was more, taking a role in our eventual melatonin. Whatever. I'm saying that we are all one. We are all capable of the same things. And I think it would be nice if we could raise our kids in a way that we're not leaving any of them left behind or isolated in abusive cycles. And if we eliminated desperation altogether by giving everyone like a survival salary, people can sign up for disability or social security or food stamps if they're poor or whatever. We have that option. But like, if rich people, it didn't even matter. If we just gave everybody like enough to get by on, we could still work and get more. We could still have ideas that would be, we could still be millionaires and billionaires on top of that, but it wouldn't even pull from the military industrial complex. We could just make sure that there's no desperation easily with such a small percentage of our total tax dollars or whatever. It's all imaginary anyway. Like, it's all based on, like, they just keep printing notes. They keep like adding interest, and the banks just create money out of nowhere every time they give someone a loan. It's just like poof, magically, here's this money to give you that didn't even exist before. It's just like all imagination land. But we treat it like it's real, and nobody stops to question its reality because we all just believe it together. So, I think cryptos are a huge sign that the reality of it is just really disappearing completely as we move towards that, and inflation becomes just this debt that we can't even, like, the national debt is getting so huge we couldn't even ever repay it if we just put all of our resources towards it. And who's this interest going towards, right? Yeah. So I'm worried. I'm worried that they want a civil war. They want the economy to crash so that we won't have to pay that debt back. I just don't see the need for any more trauma. If all we had to do was figure out a way to work together and look at the incentives that are causing the problems and address the incentives. How do we make it so, right? If everybody had their survival salary, nobody would be trading their food stamps for cash and then for half cash, and then using that little bit of half cash to get their fix of whatever drug they're addicted to, where they're trying to just not think about the problems of the world. But if they just had food stamps, if everybody did, then we'd be cool. And if we had clinics that would help us with that medicine even, so nobody was even desperate to, like, and we could try to work together through counseling to just like eliminate whatever it is that we're trying to escape from, that a lot of addictions are based on. It would be beautiful, because then there would be no crime. People would be less inclined to steal, and because they would just be taken care of, and that desperation gone. They would be able to focus on their education again, and art, and being productive, and their gardens and whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we're so held down by the way it is, and we're all just like in this paycheck to paycheck, getting by like mode, and it prevents us from even beginning the pathway to reaching our highest capabilities. And that's just not all right with me. I'm not trying to stand up to the bankers getting all the interest in the national debt, and I'm not trying to stand up to anyone politically. I don't want to get I don't want to be a threat to anyone. I just think that it's possible to find solutions that would make them happy, and it would make everyone else happy. There's got to be somewhere in the middle without being so divided, without being, so extreme in any direction. There's got to be a way to just like choose love. Like if everyone supported love and wasn't so competitive and cutthroat, and if we didn't feel against each other just to get ours, just to be able to survive, just so our families would be taken care of after we're gone, if we just felt like okay about it, like everything's going to be all right. We've got our paycheck. We're not waiting for paycheck to paycheck because we've got food stamps coming at us on a daily basis. Our card just happens to have an extra $20 for food on it every day or whatever, right? It would be so simple to solve all these problems by just getting to the root of them, and together we could decide. We could vote on what's the best way to eliminate the incentives causing this other set of problems. So that's doable. It's very doable. And I don't have to run for any government position. Maybe I'll do it with cartoons. Very soon I'll be able to produce cartoons. And maybe, I see it everywhere. The stuff I talk about, there's other YouTube videos discussing it. I see it in the Disney movies. I see it in all the, the movies are making these points that I feel like we need to get there. So we're on our way. We're already almost there. And I don't have to be a catalyst or anyone's teacher. I just need to go back to the art. So I guess that's my answer. I'm going back to the art. I'm gonna finish one of my songs. I'm gonna go on my adventures. I'm not giving up hope or anything. I'm realizing my strategy is nowhere near what it needs to be for me to actually see results. So, anyway. I love you. I do. You know you're a dork. How do you turn this thing up? How do you make this go away? Oh my god. Oh, may the force be with you.